Hey and welcome to the Daily Arsenal News Show. Let's begin with our daily news. Arsenal could sell a special star to fund the transfers. Arsenal could be willing to sell Emile Smith Rowe in the upcoming summer transfer window as they look to offload some of their squad. Smith Rowe is a product of the Arsenal Academy, but now he is seen as more of a fringe player by Mikel Arteta. Due to this, they are willing to sell him. They expect him to attract interest over the summer. Aston Villa has been linked as manager Unai Emery eyes up a reunion with the midfielder via the Sun. With the club surprisingly battling for the title this season, they are looking to buy some world-class stars and need to find the funds for them. Smith Rowe has been highly rated at the Gunners for many years now. The 22-year-old has been a solid player for the club, but has not been able to get back to his best since a long-term injury he suffered. On the All or Nothing documentary, teammate Granit Xhaka massively praised Smith Rowe whilst talking to him in the changing rooms. He said, "You are the future, man. You are the future. I felt it from the first day. You are the future here. Imagine being Arsenal's number 10 and being captain in the future. Wow." Bounded Jamie Carragher has also called him special. With him being so highly rated, it's sad to think that he might not make it at the club he has supported since he was a child. He is definitely a good Premier League player, so a club like Aston Villa could be an ideal move for him. They are battling in the top 8 and could qualify for Europe. Such a move could benefit all parties. Journalist says he keeps being told Kieran Tierney might sign for Newcastle. Kieran Tierney could sign for Newcastle this summer, according to Liam Kennedy. The journalist was speaking about Tierney's future on NUFC Matters, and he said that the left back keeps getting mentioned to him as a player who could sign for the Magpies. Now, the reporter stated that he isn't saying that this is a done deal, but he is continuously being told that the defender could well end up at St. James Park and that this rumor appears to have some legs to it. Kennedy shared what he knows about Tierney. He said, "The one name that keeps getting mentioned to me by people is Kieran Tierney. I am not saying it's going to happen. I remember situations like this. I was briefed last year to a certain extent about James Trakowski, and that was never anywhere close, but Tierney seems to have legs. A very good player. Don't be clouded by his injury record. His injury record for me, speaking to people who know him, he was flogged as a kid. I was there at his debut in Dundee, and from that moment, he was flogged by Celtic from 17 to when he got his big move, 50 games a season. This is exactly the type of signing Newcastle need to be making this summer. He is a top-class player with a point to prove who won't unsettle the squad. With all due respect to Dan Burn, left back is currently Newcastle's problem position, but Tierney's arrival would solve that problem with one fell swoop. Just imagine how dangerous Newcastle could be in the wide areas with both Tierney and Kieran Trippier on either flank. This has the potential to be something special. This is certainly one to keep an eye on heading into the summer. Journalist has heard Mikel Arteta could change a 24-year-old's position next season. Takahiro Tomiyasu could be set for a position change next season, according to Football.London's Kaynak. The journalist was discussing the potential departure of Kieran Tierney from the Emirates this summer, and he says that if the left back does leave, Arsenal will need a new backup. However, Arsenal's new backup left back may not be in the shape of a new signing. Indeed, according to Kaynak, speaking on The View from the Clock and podcast, people in and around Arsenal are suggesting that Tomiyasu could be shifted to left back if Tierney leaves and one of the young right backs coming through the academy, such as Reuell Walters, could come into the first team fold. The journalist shared what he's heard about Tomiyasu. He said, "I'd like to keep him. If Kieran Tierney leaves, you need a good backup. And I have spoken to a few people in and around the club that have suggested that Tomiyasu could be that and that a right back could come through. City have done that with Cancelo being the left back, but also being able to play at right back. That could be something Arsenal look to do." The more you think about this move, the more it makes sense. As we all know, Mikel Arteta likes to play with an inverted fullback on that left side, and Tomiyasu is quite well equipped to play in that role. Indeed, as a two-footed player who is very good on the ball, Tomiyasu would be brilliant in that left-back midfielder role. Of course, his vision and passing ability would need some work, but it's fair to say that he is a more natural fit than someone like Tierney for that role. Don't be too surprised if the 24-year-old ends up changing position next term. Gabriel Magalhaes is fit and ready to start against Newcastle. Gabriel Magalhaes should be fit and ready to start against Newcastle, according to Football.London's Kaynak. The journalist was discussing the Brazilian's injury situation on the View from the Clock and podcast, and he stated that the defender should be fine to start at the weekend. Gabriel looked to be in serious pain against Chelsea in midweek, but according to Kaynak, that was an impact injury rather than any sort of structural damage. Gabriel should be able to play through the pain, and he is said to be ready to start this weekend. Kaynak shared what he knows about the fantastic defender. He said, "The explanation of why he kept going down and carrying on, it wasn't a muscular injury, it was an ankle injury sustained with an impact with Aaron Ramsdale. Those are usually ones you can run off. Gabriel is a hard guy, he can handle the pain, and Arteta was keen not to disrupt the backline any more than necessary. He is looking good, he should be okay for Newcastle, is what I have heard. It's a positive update. He is looking fine, and I think he will be back in training either tomorrow or today. I think he is okay, but he is taking a blow to the ankle, and those are tough to run off." This is a massive boost for Arsenal as they come up against a red-hot Newcastle United side, with both Alexander Isak and Callum Wilson playing the best football of their lives at the moment. Arsenal need their defense to be watertight, and with William Saliba already sidelined, they need Gabriel fit and ready to face off against the Magpies. Luckily, it sounds as though the Brazilian will play, and that is a huge boost for the Gunners as they try to keep the pressure on Manchester City right to their bitter end. Gary Neville now delivers his honest verdict on Jakub Kiwior's Arsenal performance versus Chelsea. Gary Neville has given his verdict on Arsenal defender Jakub Kiwior's full Premier League debut on Tuesday. Neville was speaking on his podcast after their 3-1 win over struggling Chelsea. It's a match that Arsenal would have expected to win given the poor season they are having. The Blues went into the match having lost 5 games on the bounce under caretaker manager Frank Lampard. They didn't turn up once again and were lucky to only be 3 goals behind at half-time. Chelsea rallied in the second half and pounced on a lapse of concentration from Zinchenko to score a consolation goal. However, Arsenal fans were very intrigued to see how Jakub Kivir got on in his full league debut. After moving to the Emirates in January for £20 million, he has barely had a look in. That made sense when William Saliba was still fit, but he is only now be handed an opportunity ahead of Rob Holding. Neville has shared what he thought of Kivir as Arsenal finally returned to winning ways. Assessing how the Gunners fared in the Gary Neville podcast, he said, "I thought the boy at centre-back, Jakub Kivir, who came in for Rob Holding, did well, so there were a number of positives." Mikel Arteta suggested after the game that Kivir has a huge future ahead of him at the club. Club legend Cesc Fabregas shared after the match that he's heard Kivir is working really hard behind the scenes. That hard work appears to finally be paying off after breaking into the Arsenal side. It makes sense that Arteta has been cautious about playing him since signing in January. Arsenal could sign Leeds United youngster if Sam Allardyce gets them relegated. Arsenal are keeping an eye on Leeds United youngster Wilfred Nyonto and could make a move to sign him if the Whites get relegated this month. A number of players have been linked with a move to Arsenal this summer, and journalist Dean Jones has just thrown Wilfred Nyonto's name into the mix while speaking to Give Me Sport. Leeds United are in trouble, and they have turned to a relegation battle specialist to get them out of the hole they are currently in, Big Sam Allardyce. The 68-year-old replaced Javi Gracia yesterday, and he will be at the helm for the next 4 games. Leeds fans are hoping he can keep them up. If he doesn't, they will lose many of their top players. Young Wilfred Nyonto, who joined them for just £3.8 million last summer, could be one of them, and Jones has claimed that Arsenal, Paris Saint-Germain, Borussia Dortmund and Juventus are all keeping an eye on him. The journalist said, "The main worry is in Yonto because there is no way he can be playing in a lower division next season. This is a player that could be heading to the Champions League while his teammates are down in the Championship. Earlier in the campaign, he started to establish himself at this level, and I know a lot of scouts have been surprised at how he has not been affected by the pressures of the Premier League. Even in bad times, his own game has been pretty solid, and when he has a similar on his face, he seems capable of anything on a football pitch. I know Chelsea have been linked, and I don't have too much information on their being progress with that, but I do think Arsenal have half an eye on how Leeds' season plays out because he could give them an edge if he looks to move clubs but stay in England. Beyond that, there will be so many options in the continent. I am already hearing about clubs like Juventus, Paris Saint-Germain and Borussia Dortmund having an eye on this. Arsenal move would appeal to Mason Mount, says a journalist. Arsenal have been heavily linked with Chelsea's Mason Mount in recent weeks. The Gunners have enjoyed an outstanding season that will see them play in the Champions League next term. Arsenal remain in title contention, and no matter what happens, their future looks bright. The Gunners are likely to reinforce their ranks in the summer so they can kick on, and Mount is reportedly in Mikel Arteta and Edu's sights in the summer transfer window. David Ornstein revealed recently that Arsenal are one of the clubs that like him. Meanwhile, The Telegraph reported last week that the Gunners are having internal talks about signing him. Journalist Paul Brown has now claimed that Mount would surely find the prospect of working with Mikel Arteta appealing. He said, "It will be a really interesting signing for them. Would he dovetail nicely with Odegaard, or would the two of them get in the way a little bit? Are they too similar? Would he play deeper in midfield and have to change his role slightly? We don't really know where Mount sees himself playing positionally in the future, but I think that the chance to work with Arteta in that Arsenal team would appeal to anyone at the moment, especially to a young English player who is approaching his prime. Mount is an outstanding footballer who would be a great shoot for Arsenal. He is a versatile player who loves to press and work hard and is outstanding on and off the ball. It remains to be seen if Arsenal will sign him." Arsenal identify £40 million star as Declan Rice alternative. Arsenal reportedly see Southampton midfielder Romeo Lavia as an alternative transfer if they struggle to sign Declan Rice this summer. The Mail reports that Arsenal is currently interested in the player. Sami Mukbil, who wrote the piece, tweeted that Lavia is currently an alternative option to primary target Rice. Rice is open to joining Arsenal, but West Ham have placed a £100 million price tag on him. Lavia does not have a current price tag. Despite this, his value is somewhat known as Manchester City placed a £40 million buyback clause on him when they sold him to Southampton. Southampton look destined to get relegated from the Premier League. Due to this, Lavia will no doubt hope he gets a move to a big club. Despite only being 19, Lavia has demonstrated that he is a solid Premier League player. With him so young, he has the potential to become even better over the next few years. Indeed, Goal.com named him in their list of the top 9 youngsters in the world earlier this year. Meanwhile, Rio Ferdinand said he had tremendous feet when he watched him earlier this season. He is definitely a good alternative option to Declan Rice. Rice is obviously the best option as he is a lot more experienced and arguably already world class. Despite this, It's good to see Arsenal have options, with the club having an exceptional season in which they are surprisingly challenging for the title. It's good to see them already planning for the summer transfer window. They will want to make sure they are challenging near the top again. It will also be the first time since 2016 that they have been in the Champions League. If we start to see them heavily linked to La Via, then it's probably due to the fact that they believe price is too expensive. I will be uploading daily Arsenal news, so keep your eyes on the channel and don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate your support. Peace out.